Welcome back to another episode of the Babbles Nonsense podcast. I'm so excited about this interview. Our guest is all the way from Iceland. This is obviously via Zoom, so just be patient with the audio as it tends to cut in and out a little bit. David is our guest today. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name in Iceland, as you will hear me butcher that in a second. But David is a world-renowned chef. He's a model. He's a TV host, but he's here to talk about his mental illness, drug addiction, sobriety, and how he came to be a chef. So without further ado, here we go, guys.
There we go.
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Nice.
What is
All
up?
right. Oh, you know what? Not much actually. I've been taking a long ass vacation, doing absolutely nothing.
That's
That's
perfect.
what's up.
That's perfect time to podcast,
Yeah, I know.
right?
I was looking forward to it.
So I would like you, if you would, to introduce the podcast in Icelandic.
In Icelandic.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
just be like, welcome to the podcast, and then introduce yourself in Icelandic.
All right. Put on a little theater here. Góðan daginn. Velkomin í podcastið hjá Babbles Nonsense. Það bandarískt podcast hjá vinkonum minni Jonah Grimes, right? Pronounced right?
Yeah.
Og við ætlum að ræða svolítið daginn og veginn í dag. Og ég vona að þið hafa bara gaman að þið líka.
I love it. I love it. And now, am I saying your name right? I know we called you David when we were there, but it's
Probably
David.
not.
Is it David?
Davíð.
What is it?
Davíð.
David.
Davíð Hákonarson.
Lord, I can't
It's
even
a pretty tough one to pronounce.
listen. I can't pronounce anything right in English, so I'm not even going to try in Icelandic. So.
Now you probably hurt yourself. Don't worry about it.
So we're here today to talk about your story because I think your story is very interesting, which I was thinking about it the other day. I think you should probably write a book, get like a memoir out there.
You know what? You're not the first person to tell me that, but I find it hard to find anything interesting about my life. Yeah, I've done shit. I've been places, but I can't see the interesting part in it. I just find it very boring and, you know, in some parts quite dramatic. But, you know, maybe that is the recipe for a good book. I don't know.
But I think that's just because it's you and you haven't been able to remove yourself. So think about it if you were looking at someone else. If you were someone else, would you find it interesting? Like if you saw your life as someone else, would you be like, oh man, that's kind of cool?
Yeah, if you hold nothing back, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, there are some things that I really don't, you know, share with others because they're too explicit or you know.
Yeah. Scare people off.
But I don't know about scare people off, but they would probably look at me like, really?
They wouldn't imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, I would be up to it. I mean, why not? I have nothing to lose.
Right. Okay.
Except
so
people's opinion of me, but, you know, that doesn't mean very much, does it?
So a lot of people don't know you, and I don't know you that well either. I just got to meet you when we came for Ezra and Megan's wedding in Iceland and enjoyed your beautiful country. And I know parts and bits of your story. I know that you're a chef and you've worked in many countries and you kind of dealt with some mental illness, depression, things like that. And I just kind of want to dive into that to see how that kind of intertwined. And how did you become a chef? Were you cooking with your mom and dad when you were little? Is it something you've always enjoyed?
I think so. Yeah, I've always been kind of a hyperactive person. I mean, even when I was a kid, I always needed to do something with my hands. I mean, I was always looking over my dad's shoulder, trying to helping out in whatever he was doing. He is, you know, he's a multi-talent with his hands. You know, he builds shit and fixes stuff, and I was just fascinated by it. And I guess, you know, being hands-on was something that I was always meant to do. And you know, he was a hobby cook. He liked to cook at home and you know, make things nice, decorate them. And my grandmother, well, his mother, my grandmother, she did the same thing. She was like, you know, she worked in a canteen and, you know, she baked at home. So I was always surrounded by food. And, you know, I guess I was a little chubby kid, so I ate a lot. So I loved eating. So food was just basically my whole world. And I think I was around 7 years old when I told my dad I wanted to be a chef,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and I don't even know why. It was just like, he can't remember it either, but it just came out, and I just wanted to do it, and I just did it.
And so you've just been cooking since you were 7?
Mm, almost. I think I was 11 years old when my mother brought me to with her to work. She had a few jobs. So I think she had 3 jobs at that time.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, she was a pretty active woman, trying to keep the home afloat and, doing everything to keep the family provided.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't poor, but, they just wanted to give us more. Not material things, but, have a nice house, have, clothes to put on our back. We had our own business at that time as well. And dad worked a lot as well. I mean, we weren't rich either, but we just had what we needed.
Yeah.
So she was working extra during the weekends and some nights at like a roadside grill in a small town in Iceland. We used to live an hour away from Reykjavik, the capital city. And she brought me with her to work. I was 11 years old. Didn't really have a lot of friends back then. I had a hard time fitting in school, so she thought it was a great idea to just bring me with her. And she was never at home, so I had needed something to do. And as soon as I came in there and started being surrounded by waiters and this little kiosk and the burger grill and everything, I just kind of fell in love with the environment. um I think I fell in love with the action of it, and I was brought in. I was a part of something. Somebody
Yeah.
needed me to do something, and trusted me to do it, and I wanted to deliver. And the action of it, and the different people in the business. When later on I found out, we're mostly, a lot of us are outcasts. People that didn't fit in. People have been to jail, drug addicts, alcoholics, weirdos. It's just, it's a weird combination, and I kind of fell in love with that.
So you were around all that when you were 11, like drug addicts,
Yeah.
all of that.
Well, they were mostly alcoholics in that part of Iceland. They were or teenagers working on the grill, or business owners that were stand-up people. It was just a mix of everything.
Yeah.
I wasn't really exposed to anything greater than that because I was young. I didn't really know. But I've smoked my first cigarette there because the ladies that were working there on the roadside grill, they had this a container in the back where they just sat, where they kept all the sodas, where your storage kind of storage room, and they sat and smoked in there. And I sometimes sneaked back there, got a little an end of a cigarette, and finished smoking it. So I guess that was my first step towards a little bit of chaos.
So you mentioned that you didn't fit in school and then you felt like this kind of camaraderie in cooking with 11. Did you feel at that time that you were different or you didn't just get along with everyone? Because I know that you and I have talked privately about how you and I have struggled with depression ourselves, and we kind of
Mhm.
don't talk about that openly usually. Did you feel that as a young child or did that happen later?
I think it's always been a part of me. I think I went to psychologist as soon as 6 years old,
Oh, okay.
7 years old, and got medicated. Not long after that, but I never really fitted in. I never really was a part of a bigger group. Of course, I was taken in, but I was never completely in. Um, and at that time, it kind of bothered me, and it comes out as a child. You can't really express your emotions in the right way, and it comes out in you trying a little bit harder, and that probably pushes people away. And I guess also I was a little bit of an intense child. I kind of wore my feelings on the outside, and a mixture of that and trying a little bit too hard,
Mhm.
that probably pushed people away. Maybe there was a part of it. My mother keeps on saying that I keep excusing what, my childhood was like. But I just kind of look at it differently, in a rational way. I mean, I think it is a mixture of something that is 50-50, people
Yeah.
being mean and, me being a little bit different. And a combination of that is not a great recipe for a good cake.
No, I mean, I obviously don't know you personally, but I don't feel like you're different. I feel like you're very real and honest and blunt, which people can, I guess, see that as different because people aren't used to people being honest with them. And you're just very honest. Like you just say what you're feeling, which I guess people would consider different.
Probably. Today it's a little bit more accepted, but
Yeah.
as children, they don't really understand. People
Yeah.
kind of think it, some people think it's uncomfortable that I'm so blunt, but most people find it, comic. They find it funny, or they just respect one for it. And
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of telling people that, I mean, I don't walk up to people on the street and tell them I'm depressed, but if people ask and they really want to know, then I'm not really ashamed of saying it.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I guess it's people are opening up to it more, but they say they are, but it's really hard to understand what it is to feel that tar coming over your head, when
Mm-hmm.
you do get depressed, and the the lack of willingness in your body to do the simplest tasks, and that fear of doing the most simple things, just answering your phone, or I don't know, just even walking with the dog can seem the hardest project to do. But I think it's progressing in a positive way, that people are trying to understand, and you can't expect more than that. But there's still a lot of people out there who just they can't see it. They can't put themselves into that position of not being able.
No, I completely agree because I've dealt with it myself, and my depression doesn't come out in the form of not being able to do something. It actually comes out in the form of just being angry. So I tend to get mad at people that I shouldn't get mad at or things like that. But then you have the people who are trying to tell you, well, just be happy. Like, just don't feel that way. Well, it's like,
Jesus
okay,
Christ. I could
but
end up
like,
in jail every time people say that.
I know, and like I've tried to explain to my friend, like you can't tell someone like don't feel a certain way because it's not like I want to feel this way. It's not that I enjoy feeling this. It's just I can't control it sometimes,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, you know, it it does happen a lot that people say like, why don't you just do this instead? It's like I've been struggling with depression for now, what, 20 years, 20 something years.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think I already tried? There
Yeah.
are some methods that work for me. They might not be accepted by the people around me, but for me, in some cases, they do work. But then again, I am self-destructive, and I like to stay in the darkness because it's the most familiar feeling that I know. And I tend to go that place, every now and then, and because I feel comfortable there at times. But of course, I don't want to feel this way. I want to be able to enjoy everything in life, but there's a lot of things I don't feel I enjoy. They're like, maybe I have a little bit less serotonin, production in my body than everybody else.
Yeah.
I don't really get excited for stuff. Not really. It does happen, but it has to be something significant for me to get excited. But general happiness. I mean, I feel I'm kind of like a mellow type of person, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm open, and that's what kind of deceives people, that I'm always so happy. I mean, I'm happy. Like I'm more of an outgoing person. I like that people feel comfortable around me, so I give.
Hmm.
I give a little bit out just to make people feel comfortable. So I'm more of a giver than a receiver in
Yeah.
that sort of sense.
So combining all that, like, since going back, when did you go to culinary school? And did that is when you cook, does that bring you joy? Does that kind of bring you out of your depression? Or is it more of a like, I'm just doing this to make time pass?
Now, I think in the core, cooking is a hobby, a lifestyle, and something I do for a living. Um, and back then it was just being a part of some kind of unity that helped me or kind of made me happy in a way. I mean, I thought it was fun. The struggle of the long shifts, the harsh hours, and the stress during service. Everything was hard, and I like to deal with hard. If it's if it's not hard, I just don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Um, but I loved cooking. That there is a certain moment in service sometimes when everything around you is utter chaos, but you feel like you're in control in this hurricane that is around you. And you can dance inside of the middle of the hurricane and, have everything under control. And, if the whole team is like that, everything is like a little dance. And, all the wheels are turning at the same time and everybody can read each other. And it's a feeling that it's hard to explain. And then when you have that and you can see the guests enjoying the product that you're doing, which is also something probably related to one's ego, which is you're creating something to make people happy, you know to please somebody. And to see an expression of somebody's face when you actually create something good as an experience for them is an amazing feeling. And
Yeah.
that's what I think most chefs are trying to give to people all the time. And they're trying to catch that moment.
So, speaking of your chefing experience, you have worked in Paris, is that correct?
Yeah. Paris. I lived in Paris for 2.5 years, and then Copenhagen for 7.5 years.
And were you a head chef at all the places that you've worked?
No, you kind of, it's kind of like being in the army. You start at the bottom and you work yourself up, and when you reach a certain rank, you go from one place to another, and try to get that same rank where
Mhm.
where you get recommendations and so on. Um, but when I first came to Denmark, I just started as a regular commie chef, and worked my way up to chef de partie, and was a chef de partie for a couple of years, and then worked myself up to a sous chef. I was a sous chef at a couple of Michelin restaurants in Copenhagen, and then I was an assistant head chef at a restaurant in Copenhagen. Um, and after that, I was a head chef in Paris at a small restaurant in the 18th district.
How was that though? That I mean, I've never been to Paris. Obviously, I've never been anywhere other than Iceland. But how is that like working in Paris? Because I mean, that's where everyone goes to eat and have fun. And
Um, it was an amazing experience. But Paris is a tough city when you don't speak the language and you're a foreigner trying to live on your own there. Um, but I learned a lot by living there. Patience mostly, because you're trying to make yourself understandable to somebody that either doesn't want to or it doesn't speak English. Um, but Paris. Most people have like a hate and love relationship with Paris. It's a beautiful city with so rich culture, diversity. and the people there are amazing once you break that barrier of the Parisians.
Yeah.
Um, and they are so lovely and caring and warm. Um, but it was different coming from Iceland or Denmark to a city where you know rent is high, small spaces,
Hmm.
and salary isn't sky high like here in Iceland or Denmark. Um, but I think it taught me a lot, and humility mostly.
Yeah.
And then again, patience. Driving in Paris is a fucking nightmare. Um, yeah, it really, really is. But I I look back and miss it
You
in a
do.
way. Yeah,
So
and I
when
guess it's mostly the culture
the
that I
culture.
miss.
So what
Yeah.
is your like would you say that you have a specific cuisine that you typically cook or do you try kind of just cook everything? Because obviously like people who know me know that I love nutrition and I cook at home, but I'm not a chef. Like I cook basic ass bitch meals like sweet potatoes, green beans. Like it's basic as fuck. But like you do like straight up what you see in the movies kind of stuff. I don't even know what I'm trying to explain, but like your stuff is very fancy and pretty in pictures and things like that.
Yeah, I guess at work I do, but I at home I'm very basic, but probably a little bit more advanced basic than you are. But I still enjoy some good boiled rice, a nice little chicken breast or chicken leg or whatever it is, and a nice sauce and a salad. I mean, it doesn't have to be too complicated. But at work,
Mm-hmm.
you have something. You have this drive to create and give people some kind of experience when they're paying you for it. That's only at like certain types of restaurants, and then you have other restaurants where I worked at where it's just honest, down low, well prepared, good tasting food. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be any rocket science each time you have to go. You go out eating. It depends on the mood or the occasion you go out eat for.
Yeah.
But what I do, with time, I developed my own style. I've been working at many different, type of restaurants, different head chefs. They all have their signatures and so on. But it took me 10 years to figure out what kind of food I like to make.
Yeah.
And of course, when you have time and the staff to do it, you can make it like extreme fancy, that little, pincette, small herbs, everything perfectly plated on the plate, and but that takes a little bit more time, effort, and stress. But it's fun. It's fun to create. I wouldn't say an artwork, but
Well, no, I mean it
something,
is. It's
to
very
create something
creative.
like that.
It's still very like it's still art and if when you think about it because just like an artist has to figure out what colors to put on a canvas, you have to figure out what ingredients are going to taste good together. But in this case it's
True.
much because people they care about their food, right? Like everyone loves to eat.
Mm,
Everyone wants it to taste good. And if it tastes bad, they're not going to come back and they're not going to pay you. Whereas an artist who is painting on a canvas, in my opinion, like someone does it, everyone sees art differently, right? But that's just a visual piece. But when you're putting visual, taste, smell, like you have to create everything in one dish. So yeah, it is art.
true.
It's
That
definitely
is
art.
true. But I think it's like I'm too humble to call myself an artist or
Well, you are.
anything in quite in that direction. I find it. I don't see chefs as we're not scientists. We're not doctors. We're not finding a cure for the world. We basically are disposable people because most people can cook and will cook if they need to. We go into this probably driven by our own egos to to create something for somebody else which gives them joy, that gives us something back.
Yeah.
But mostly I think we do it because we love the act of cooking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still enjoy cooking like rustic, soul food meals. That is, and I think as well the food trends are moving a little bit that direction for the next years. This fine dining, 14 servings, 15 servings, up to 20 something is, it's a dying breed,
Yeah.
but there is always a crowd that likes to go out and eat that way.
Yeah.
But it's a very small fraction of people that, first of all, can afford it, and second of all, enjoy it. I
Yeah.
mean, most of the people I know, most of my friends just want to have, 2 or 3 good courses and, nice wine, and, then get the fuck out of there and sit in a wine bar. I mean, they don't want to spend 4 fucking hours, eating one bite every single time they get a meal, serving. So it's most chefs, a lot of chefs that I knew at least, went, from when they finish their studies to, go to something fancier, and then when you reach a certain age, you get a family, and then most people go into something that is more family approved environment.
Okay.
And then others keep on doing that harsh environment, 14-hour shifts kind of thing, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
But, it gets to in the end.
So when you say harsh environments, are you talking about like the drugs and everything that is involved that you can get into? Because I know you're very open about your sobriety. You post about it on your Instagram. And so we can kind of like pivot into that. Is that how you yourself got into drugs? Was like just because of the long hours and you needed to stay awake and be creative and things like that? Or was it more because you were depressed and you needed something to make you happy? Or was it a combination of both?
I think from the moment I was born, I was destined to be an addict.
You think?
And, I think so, yeah. I mean, the way my character is built, if I find something that gives me pleasure, I want to do it all of the time. I want a lot of it, and I want it fucking right now.
But I think that's
And
everyone, right?
I think most people have some kind of, common sense of saying, stop right here. This is, either this is killing you or this is enough.
Well,
I didn't really have that stop button.
okay.
But it happens in all kinds of forms. I mean, food, sports,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. But yes, food can kill you. Drugs will probably kill you faster. And if you're dying, lying in your bed, wetting your pants, and you don't see nothing wrong with it, there is something wrong with you. But when you do sports all the time, it's good for your health, but you might develop some injuries. But in the sport industry, it does exist that you overtrain.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is as severe as being addicted to cocaine or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I guess everybody has that receptor in their brain that gives them the what is the name of that section in your brain that gives you
The
pleasure?
dopamine response.
Yeah, the dopamine response. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
everybody does something to make them feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that addicts, alcoholics, whatever, they just there's something wrong with that part, or it's mental as well. I mean, there's divided opinions on what causes addiction.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in my case, I think the environment I was in didn't really, you know, it helped a little bit with, going the wrong way. I
Yeah.
mean, because it was so open there. I mean,
Yeah.
my first head chefs, they were, alcoholics. They were drinking at the jobs. They were, mostly fucked up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are around that all the time, it becomes normal
Yeah.
and accepted. And you go out. I was young. I think 16 years old when I started to actually study to be a chef.
Okay.
And I went out with people that were 25, 26, 27, 28, up to 30 after work. And they were doing stuff that I hadn't done before. And when you see it and you're in the group, you accept it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that was people's fault, but I was just open to it. I mean, there's a lot of people that didn't do it, but I was just more open to the idea than others. And I don't think it helped me being creative or keep on working. It was more of unwinding after
Mm.
work.
Yeah.
And for me, anything that could help me go in, harder drugs like amphetamine, cocaine. It could that calmed me down because I'm so hyperactive. It had the reverse effect on me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I feel calm and in control, and the anxiety goes away for a very short period of time. But it comes back even harder to bite you
Yeah.
in the ass afterwards. But I mean, and it took me around 11 years, to stop that habit. Um, yeah, I think around 11 years.
So
But
how
I wouldn't blame the environment. Definitely not.
were you 16 when you tried cocaine for the first time?
I think it was around, yes, I think it was 17 when I tried cocaine for the first time. I think it was 16 when I smoked weed for the first time.
So you tried cocaine before weed.
No, I was 17 when I tried cocaine, and then 16 when I tried weed.
Oh, okay. So, okay. Okay. And then you decided to quit doing drugs when? Like, did you have a moment where you were like, okay, I can't do this anymore? Like, did something bad happen? What made you decide, like, I've got to get my life off of this track?
I decided that long before I actually quit.
Mm-hmm.
I I sucked at being a drug addict, but I couldn't help it. I mean, I always like my conscience always came into play. I always felt bad doing what I did.
Yeah.
I always felt horrible, but I think like most people would stop if you feel horrible doing something. Most people would stop. Otherwise, this world would be burning up a long, long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think I wanted to stop even before I was 20. I mean, I was doing it a lot. I mean, for the first time I smoked weed, I think I smoked weed every single day for 1 year.
Okay.
It just clicked. Something just clicked. It was perfect. I felt good. I didn't feel anxious. Everything was just more fun with weed. And then you get to know harder drugs, and then like fuck yeah, I can also party. And with your long hours, and when you're a chef student, you just work your fucking ass off to
Mm-hmm.
try to rise within the hierarchy. You can go out party with everybody, connect, and party all night, and then show up to work the day after. In the 20s, you don't really have as many much hangovers as you do when you're in your later 20s.
Or 30s
So
now.
or 30s now. I couldn't even. I really don't want to start drinking again just because of the fucking hangovers. Jesus Christ. But I went to my first rehab before 20. I think I was around 18.
Okay.
I just couldn't stop. I was just, I did it, felt bad for doing it, you know. And I think I had 3 rehabs before 20. I was kicked out of one rehab for doing drugs inside rehab.
Oh my God. How
And
did you get drugs inside rehab?
I was placed in a room. We had like, I think we were three of us sharing a room, and one of us was finishing a sentence. So he came in to the rehab center, trying to finish off a sentence, and he could get a couple of months off a sentence by going to rehab. And he wasn't done. He kind of fired us up to do something. It's easy to fire up fucking addicts that are in an institution trying to quit drugs. So we were up for anything. So he jumped out a couple of times through a bathroom window and got drugs, and then came back in. So we were playing poker, taking some weird ass prescription drugs and stuff in rehab, and I got kicked out, and I couldn't understand why. I could not understand why. I mean, I was fucking furious with the head of the
You're like, I'm here for drugs, and obviously I have a problem.
Yeah, for fuck's sake, give me a break. So I got in again, like I think a few weeks later, and I think I stayed sober for half a year, and then slowly fell back into it. But I could control it, and it kept on going.
Okay.
But then I tried rehab counseling some years after, and then I went to my last rehab in 2016. I think I've been sober for now a little over 5 years. Yeah, so it's kind of been up and down. I always wanted to quit, but just couldn't. And because of my guilty conscience all of the freaking time, it made me a little bit of a bad drug addict.
Well, congratulations
I
on
tried to sell drugs at one point as well.
What?
I was even worse at that. That's probably the most pathetic try I've ever done in my life, is trying to be a coke dealer. I think 90% of what I was trying to sell went up my own nose. So I was constantly in minus. I was quick at quitting that job as a coke addict. I was doing it on the side of being a chef student, just to get some extra money, or easier access to drugs. So that's one thing I knew I was bad at, and I quit.
Well, they say if you're an addict, you cannot sell drugs. They say addicts.
Fuck no.
Because you do, you use it.
Yeah, I really did.
Well, congratulations on your sobriety, and I'm glad that you've been sober for 5 years, because something obviously is driving you to do that. And like you said, they have studied that addicts definitely, it is a chemical thing in their brains.
Yeah.
So you struggle with that daily, I would assume, to like just continue to stay on the sobriety train every single day.
In a way, yeah. I mean, I believe, first of all, you have to be ready to quit. I mean, you can't just, stand up and say like, you don't, well, in some cases you wake up one day and say like, fuck this shit. I can't do this anymore. But you have to reach some kind of a bottom or whatever it's called to be able to want to quit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when I quit smoking, it's like only 8-9 months ago.
Good.
I wasn't a big smoker. I mean, I had a pack of cigarettes for maybe a week. I wasn't a huge smoker, but I still enjoyed it. And started training really hard. I started doing track and field, and it just came naturally to me to quit. I didn't decide to quit to smoke. I just stopped wanting it.
Good.
But I don't think that ever happens in the case of addicts that do drugs or alcohol. You have to take a decision to turn your life around, and probably what did help me the most was Alcoholics Anonymous. I think that is the reason why I could quit and could have the tools and the means and the fellowship to actually help me conquer that habit of doing drugs.
So do you feel, because there's this thing, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, it's called California Sober, and a lot of people in LA who were addicted to drugs but weren't addicted to alcohol, they feel that they should be able to drink alcohol and kind of vice versa. If they were addicted to alcohol, but weren't addicted to like their marijuana that they're smoking, they feel like it should be fine to smoke marijuana, but just don't drink alcohol? Or do you feel like it's no, like it's a one and done, like I'm going to go down a path. If I start drinking, it's going to become an addiction?
You know what? I wish I could just, stop drinking and just do cocaine. I wish there was some kind of a method or a pill that I could swallow to do that all the time.
Yeah.
But for me, in my case at least, I can't talk for anybody else, but
Yeah.
in my case, I was never really an alcoholic in a way, but fucking hell, I drank a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I see it this way: if I drink and I start to feel a little, I can feel the influence. I can feel, myself getting a little bit tipsy or getting a little bit drunk. I swear to God, there is a black BMW that magically appears outside my house very, very fast, and you know, my phone just starts calling a number, and all of a sudden he's there. And I know that if I drink, I will do drugs, and if I do drugs, I will drink. So
Okay.
I can't risk of doing one thing and then fall into another. And
Gotcha.
I know that if I believe that if I would start letting myself start slowly drinking, I mean, I can't speak of, I'm just doing this for today because I don't want to drink today because I don't want to do drugs today.
Yeah.
And I believe that in my case, at least, I can't control drinking now, at least. And I don't think I ever can,
Yeah.
because I feel like if I give myself that, you know, that pleasure, or give myself a chance to try to do it, I will fall back in, and nothing's really worth it to fall back in. I don't,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really, I did never like alcohol that much anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
I love the taste of good red wine, and God knows that I love champagne and Sazerac old fashioned cocktails. But do I really want to take that chance of some kind of a taste experience to fuck my life up again, and
Yeah.
shitting my pants, or wetting myself, or making a fool out of myself, spending my life fortune for one little taste of a glass of champagne? I mean,
Yeah.
in my job, because most alcoholics can't do this, but I will taste, for wine tastings with my menu or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I can take a sip of wine and then spit it.
Okay.
There are certain types of alcohol that I can't do this with. It's like whiskey, I can't do this with because that was my, drug of choice.
Okay.
And certain types of red wine. Um, and so I just skip that. I have the tools to do that. Most alcoholics, they don't really agree on this, but this is my sobriety.
Yeah.
I choose how I want to live it.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just one of the lucky ones that can do that. But if they hate, and let them hate. They're just jealous. But yeah, I just don't want to take that chance.
Yeah.
There's too much at stake.
Well, I mean, I think everyone, like you said, everyone's sobriety is their sobriety and it's their journey, and they have to choose how they live it. And just like people in California, that's how they feel like, oh, I was only addicted to cocaine, so drinking alcohol is not a vice for me. I mean, that's their life and that's how they choose to live it. We can't speak for anyone's journey.
LA is special though. I mean, I was there once, and it's funny to see that, like, you have this girl who shops at Whole Foods, on weekdays, and does yoga and Pilates, and then soon as Friday night comes up, she has like 2 bags of cocaine in her bag, and gets herself fucked up from Friday through Sunday. So it's
Well, that's
like
how they stay
LA
skinny.
is a different breed. Yeah, it's true.
No, I'm just kidding. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I don't know the real story. Never done drugs. That's a lie. I tried edible one time and I went into SVT and freaked out, and I will never do drugs again. First and only time, had a bad experience, won't ever happen again.
Oh,
It was it's very embarrassing.
all right. I'm okay with, I can see why, and like I'm not against weed. I
Mhm.
think it's, some people say it's a gateway drug. Yes, but so is alcohol.
Yeah.
Alcohol technically is a drug. It is, you know,
It's just a legal
weed
drug.
grows, alcohol you make. And yeah, and I don't know that many drug addicts that went from, being a kid to smoking weed and then hard drugs. Usually it's like being a kid, you start to drink, you smoke weed, and then you go to over to hard drugs. So, and I'm not saying that weed is any better. I
Hmm.
mean, I just think that weed and alcohol is basically equal in that sense. It's a gateway drug,
Yeah.
but weed really doesn't kill you like alcohol does. I
Oh,
mean,
for
I've
sure.
seen alcoholics that can drink themselves to death. I haven't seen that person that can smoke themselves to death yet. But you get really fucking dumb. And THC, what I've read, it speeds up, that fat layer that can sit on the outside of your brain,
Hmm.
um, which is probably not good for you. Uh, you know, Probably no other fat is, but I think there's pros and cons to both of them. But I think alcohol does kill you faster.
Oh,
But
yeah, for sure. It does. It definitely does because I mean, it definitely takes all your electrolytes out of your body and makes you go into starvation, ketosis, and all that wonderful stuff it does to your body. And you look older
yeah,
than you're supposed to look. So,
true.
but so recently you told me that you are not chefing it up right now. You're on a long extended vacation.
Yeah, I um, I decided to quit my job a few months back. Well, actually, in the end of March this year, and I worked for 4 months. I had a 3 months resignation period, and then I gave them one extra month, just to help them get into the summer and make everything proper for a high season.
Mm-hmm.
But I the first time in my life I needed to concentrate on myself. I was like last year it really got the best of me. I've been doing this for now 18 years, and this is not the first time I hit a wall, with being overworked and being overstressed. Definitely not the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and if probably not the last time, but I think this one was the biggest yet, and I never given myself a chance to recover.
Mm-hmm.
um I mean, I was doing 300 plus hours a month on average,
Gosh.
and constantly traveling back and forth because it was an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes away from Reykjavik. So I was living two places. So you're uh, you're not, you're always on the move. You're always moving back and forwards, and you're never really grounded.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, you're always working. And at that time, I was also doing a TV show, and it just really got the best of me for the first time in my life, where I was just like, "Fuck this! What is it worth?" Um, I mean, I enjoyed my job, but the pressure just got to me. I mean, I was having panic attacks every week. I was, passing out. Well, passing out. I was just, I had so bad panic attacks that I just, zoned out, and I just fell asleep for half an hour. And then, I didn't have time to have panic attacks. So, it took me half an hour, 45 minutes to recover, and then, get back to work, because,
Yeah.
there wasn't really an option of, not going to work. So it really fucked up my mental state, and I'm still trying to recover. I mean, I'm even after, you know almost, 5 months of daily cocaine abuse. I mean, I was mentally fucked up, but it feels like the same thing I'm dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
um and I dealt with anxiety my whole life, and depression. But it gotten better after I stopped drinking. But the first 2 years were hell, with anxiety and depression all the time. But now the depression and the anxiety just came back and it came back full force.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I'm not the type of person that just quits because it's hard. I'm a masochist in that way. If it's not fucking hard and it doesn't almost fucking kill me, it's probably not worth it, and I'm not doing anything right. It took me like a half a year to admit that maybe that I needed to take a break. But I'm glad I did.
I think that's very commendable because I mean we chat back and forth every now and then when I see you post something in Iceland, and you're very open and honest about being depressed at the time. But then you've also always been like, this is just how my life is. It's just what it is. But this is the first time I think that you've ever said, you know what? No, I don't want it to be like this, and I'm going to work on it.
Definitely. For the most part of my life, I kind of just accepted the depression.
Mm-hmm.
I accepted that I am, maybe a little bit dysfunctional in that way. And, I just rode the wave, I guess, of depression and anxiety. But, now I'm the first time in my life I'm actually taking like proper action to find the solution to it. I mean, I'm not putting all my faith that there is a solution to it, but at least I'm doing something active to actually try.
Yeah.
And for the first 2 months I've just been doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't really been doing nothing because I'm used to being in fifth gear and constantly on the run.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always doing something,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to find the balance of just sit down and not doing anything.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's probably one of the hardest thing and I've done. I mean,
Agreed.
I
Agreed.
can always find something to do. I mean,
Agreed.
I could clean this apartment like 10 times
Yeah.
and go out to cut the grass, and I need to fix that in my car, or I want to do this. I mean, I need to take the dog to the vet. I mean, I can
Mm-hmm.
find endless of reasons to not to sit down and just relax and be with me,
Yep.
because
We're the
you're
same.
constantly taking.
I think we're the same in that, which we've talked, like we're kind of kindred spirits. We're both born on the same day, a year apart. We both have
Yeah.
depression and anxiety. Like we both have stressful as fuck jobs that we hate. Well, you don't hate your job. I hate my job. But like I can't sit still. Like I have COVID right now, which everyone, we are via Zoom. Obviously, I didn't fly to Iceland to do this interview, but and I'm like trying to work out in the gym or in my garage gym, and I'm like, I can't breathe. What am I doing? Go sit down on the couch.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so hard to sit. I can sit down in this chair with nothing else going on, and I could just look around for 10 seconds and find
Yep.
15 different jobs I need to do.
Yep.
And I think I'm programmed like that. This is how I was brought up as well. My father is extremely active. He needs to be doing something all of the time,
Mm-hmm.
and he needs to do it fast, and it needs to be done right fucking now. And that is a good thing, and that can also be a bad thing.
Yeah.
um it's admirable to be doing that all the time, but you don't have to put that pressure on you all the time, and this is what I'm trying to learn to do. And doing my job as well, the part of it is that I'm extremely insecure about everything I do.
Which
I
is
mean,
crazy to me
I
because you're
doubt.
so, why? Like you do so good at everything that you do.
I know. I can't see it. I really, I wish I could, but every single thing that I do, I doubt, like harshly. I mean, I am the most harsh judge ever when it comes to myself. Everybody else is doing so great, but I mean, even yesterday I was given a lecture at kind of a speech at the chefs kind of club in Iceland, and I did a good, I had a good speech going on, but somebody told me like it was a little bit too fast, and that's the because I spoke too fast, and this is the only thing I took out of this thing I did. I did everything right
But
except one thing that I found was you kind of ruined the whole experience. I got anxiety attacks because of it, because I'm so fucking mentally disabled on, fixated on seeing what I'm doing wrong all the time.
Why don't you swap that? You know that you control your mind, so why not try to do positive affirmations? I know this sounds so woo woo and stupid, but because when people would say this to me, I'd be like, go fuck off. But I've started doing it and I'm like, you know what? I don't care if you like that. I did like this about it. Just start seeing that. Like, I mean, what's that going to harm just to be like, oh, you know what? I'm a boss ass bitch. Well, you're not a boss ass bitch. That's what we say for females, but you can be like, I just gave a speech.
Yeah, I know. I think it's like, I think it's a matter of, I have this feeling for a few days and then it kind of fades out. But, I do feel it. And I think it's an auto thing for me to go into self-blame and,
Oh, for sure.
tear myself down, because I always think I can do better. And that's maybe why I became good at what I was doing, because, constant self-doubting and telling yourself that you can probably do better is a curse and a blessing. I mean, because that's what drives you. What it did to me. And then again, that prohibits me to take chances, because, that self-doubt kind of ruins or prohibits you to take that leap for, whatever it is. And that's what I'm trying to work on as well. But that self-doubt is something that is deep inside of me since I was a kid.
Well, I mean, you're what, 32?
Yeah, I'm turning 33 in November. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've had 32 years of telling yourself self-doubt and things like that. It's not going to fix overnight. I mean, it was 32
No, definitely
years.
not. Definitely not. I'm looking forward to the 32 more, trying to fix that.
There. See? There, that's a positive thought. See, look at you. Growth. Mm-hmm. Growth on the podcast.
I think it's the podcast. It's definitely giving something.
But you mentioned earlier, and I did want to mention this, that you did a TV show last year, which I obviously couldn't understand anything that was being said because it was all in Icelandic. But how did that come about? So you just went to people's houses and taught them how to cook?
Yeah, basically. Now it's the idea behind it is a little bit, I always wanted to do TV. Mm-hmm. I always wanted to do something like that in front of a camera. And I had the script ready for quite a long time, but of course it evolves over time. And I wanted to do a TV show that kind of, I didn't want to lecture people, but I really wanted to do something that could potentially be educating for people, to open people's eyes up for what is in our closest environment, how you can reduce food waste, how you can change a product that is bad into something that you can preserve or use now or whatever that is, and to cook with what they have in their fridge. So it was kind of like a food waste foraging focused TV show, and it came out pretty good. I was pretty satisfied with the result, but I fucking hated it while I was doing it, because I was I was working 250% at one place and then trying to do a TV show in between that. It was fun, but it was really stressful.
But you got to meet some really cool people.
Definitely, I got to meet some known people from from here in Iceland. Some interesting characters. So it was kind of fun.
And the CrossFit girl, I don't know her name, but my friend was obsessed.
Yeah, Sarah Silmans. Yeah. Yeah, people usually tend to mention her when I'm talking about that TV show.
Yeah, my friend is obsessed with her, and he was like, when he found out I was going to Iceland, he was like, "Hey, I need you to find this girl and get her autograph." And I said, "Well, I'm not doing that, but one of our friends did interview her on a TV show." He was like, "What?" And I showed him your clip, and he was like, "You have to ask him to get me an autograph." And that's when I sent you a message and said, "Look, my friend is literally bugging the shit out of me. Will you please get her autograph for me?"
Well, she's supposed to invite me for a baptism of a new dog, so maybe I'll just get it then. She's an amazing person. I mean, she's so down to earth, so authentic, and She's kind, and she's nice to be around. So it's this is what people think about her, and it's actually true.
That's awesome. So to wrap this up, if you had one thing you
Mhm.
can do, like dream job, you could just picture everything that you could do, goals, everything, what would it be?
Mhm. I think I would love to have a little house or a chateau in the countryside. Uh, Maybe a bed and breakfast. Loads of animals and dogs mostly. Loads of dogs. A few goats, sheep, cows. A couple of horses, and have just a small restaurant, small team. Open 4 days a week, and have it kind of exclusive, but just doing what I love to do, and yeah, in the countryside, definitely. I think I connect to nature a lot,
Yeah.
and I think that would be a dream thing to do. It doesn't have to be here in Iceland, definitely not. The weather here is shit most of the time. But
So where would it be? So like if this is your dream, this is your goal, where would it be?
France, Italy, or Spain.
Okay. I've never been to any of those places, but I plan on going when COVID's done.
Yeah, right. You have to come you have a layover in Iceland and then move on over to Europe.
Yeah, for sure. No, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate your candidness and letting me ask you anything. I mean,
Of course,
that's always
my
makes for a good
pleasure.
podcast. And when you come to Huntsville, if you ever come to see your new baby, would it be your cousins with Ezra, right?
Yeah,
So it'd be your
I will definitely come over for
and see.
sure.
Then we'll have to podcast in person when
Sweet.
COVID's done.
Love to.
All right, guys, that's the podcast for this week. And I really hope you enjoyed it. As always, until next time, bye.